everyone. This is my very first live stream. I got told by a lot of people to do it, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go, see what happens. So what this series is supposed to be about is just me going through, the usual thing of me just playing around with code and drinking my tea and doing whatever I do, and having you guys following along. And I've got your messages here anyways, if you guys want to give it a go and send me some messages on YouTube, Twitter, whatever. I'll be more than happy to answer those as well as do stuff. So yeah, just flip me a message. Oh, hey, how's it going? First person. Okay, so what this lecture, or what this, not lecture, what this thing is going to be about is about how to make ragdolls. So the most common thing I get asked a lot of the time is, how do I make a ragdoll? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, and I'll show you guys how to make a ragdoll really simply. A lot of the time people overcomplicate stuff, and I really don't like it. Like, no matter what video you watch, it's always just, do this, do that. It's that simple. I really don't like that. So I want to show you guys a simpler way of going about it. Hopefully you'll learn a bit of tips and tricks as we go. And yeah, let's just kick it, and I'll show you what we're making. So what we're making is this thing. So what it is, it's a simple ragdoll. I used Unity just to make it using Unity's simple mechanics and stuff. And as I'm moving around these objects, it'll just follow, like the individual joints will follow properly. I guarantee if you've played around with Unity in the past, you probably would have tried to move objects in a ragdoll. If you ever played with Ragdoll before, then you would have probably tried to move an object, and then it would just snap, or it would do some really wacky stuff, like it would just explode, for example, like doing this, and so and so. So what I've done is I've found a way to do a thing called IK. Now IK stands for inverse kinematics, and it's something that you do if you want to work on getting objects that are rigged to move individual parts and joints and get influenced by that kind of stuff. So I've made this little focus point. I've called it an influencer. Probably not a good name, but I don't care, as long as it works. Anyway, so I've made this thing. It's a focus point for the individual item. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and rebuild this from scratch. I want to show you how to do it very, very simply. And also, the one other thing I added, I totally forgot, was this little spine point for the climber. It's almost like he's climbing on walls and stuff. I just made it so that he follows those points. So yeah, let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've already made a project. So it's just a basic 3D project. Okay, and the other thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to move this aside. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make the hierarchy structure of this. It should be fairly easy. There's not too much involved. I'm going to start by showing you where the ragdoll system is. If you didn't know, Unity can actually make ragdolls for you, which is really, really cool. The way that you do is you go Game Object, 3D Object, and there is an option there for Ragdoll. When you open it up, now Unity's done this thing where you've got a bunch of references that you have to make. So when you make the hierarchy, when you make the initial hierarchy phase, you gotta try and see if you can follow along with every little bit that they have there. So they've got the pelvis, the hips, the knee, the foot, the whatever, all that kind of stuff. So you've got to create in the hierarchy. In the hierarchy, you've got to make all of the individual joints yourself. I know it sounds like a pain. I really hate this, but and the other thing that makes it worse actually is the fact that you have to click and drag each individual item into here in order for create to actually work. Now the reason why that they do that is because it has to be in T-pose. So you've got to create a model in T-pose so that it can automatically calculate the joints and the hinge angles and stuff like that. But anyway, that aside, let's just get into it. So I'm going to create an empty object. I'm going to call it middle spine. And I'm going to place it somewhere in the world. You know what? 0 is good. One thing I'm going to do, because it's an empty game object, I can't see it. So I'm going to give it an icon. I'll give it an icon of yellow. Okay, and then now, just because I'm going to work with an environment, I might as well just put a 3D object here. I'm going to call it ground. It's a cube, so I've just got a cube there. I'm going to set it to 20 by 20 on the X and Z, drag it down 10 units, or whatever, 5 units will do, I don't care. Should be fine. Okay. Now, that's the ground, the middle spine, we're working on this thing. Okay, so it's an empty game object. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to create another empty. Now, the way that I'm going to do this is I need to make a torso. Oh, but the torso is not, it's not called a torso, it's called something else. It's called, I should take a screenshot of this, because I always forget it. Here we go. I'm just going to do it. There we go. Alright, so I took a screenshot. So at the moment we've got left hips, right here, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Middle spine, pelvis. Okay, so the way I usually do this is I just go pelvis, put that in first, drag it down. I can't see it, so I'm going to put an icon on it. There we go, icon. Alright, I might work on it in 2D because then I can see the units individually and see what I can do. I think when I did this, I did 2 units? I'm pretty sure I did 2 units. Let me just double check. No, I did 1 unit. Okay, never mind. 1 unit. Okay, so that's 1 unit apart. Then you got to make the inside of the pelvis. You got to make the left hips and the right hips. So left hips. But I'm gonna just start with doing the left hips. I made a mistake before when I made this. I did them all individually when you don't really need to because they're both the same and you're just gonna shift them across. So I'm just gonna copy and paste them. Left hips. The next thing was left knee. And then left foot, I think, was the inside of that. So left foot. Okay. Ah, gotta give it an icon. Damn it. Also, it's gotta be 2 units. There's a glitch with this version of Unity. So I'm using 2018.2.0. The biggest glitch that you have is when you click on a game object every now and then, it locks the transform. So when you try to move, you have to click away and click back, and it fixes it. So anyway. That works. All right. Now, if I go to... Oh, red is not the best. I'm going to go with that. Okay. There we go. Yep, so that was 2 units, I believe. 2 units should be enough. No, it was 1 unit. Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. I messed up. See, it glitched again. Okay. So left knee. Now, left foot needs to be down. That's why it was 2 units, because I put those 2 in it. All right, awesome. So basically what I've done is I've got middle spine, pelvis, left hips, left knee, left foot. Now I'm going to just copy left hips, move it across 2 units. Now the way I'm snapping, by the way, is I'm holding control. When you hold control and then you click, you'll be able to snap across in world units. If you want to do it more, if you want to have more control over it, you have to use a plugin which is called ProGrids, and it's actually built into Unity. I'll show you how to do that at some point. So left, right, hips, right knee, so it's all just right. Right foot. All right. Okay, let's get going. So, left hips, right hips, knee, pelvis. Cool. I'm gonna make something else on the top, which is gonna be. Let's see. So I need to make the. I've got the middle spine, which is good. I need to make the. Left arm and then the right arm. So this is what's really funny. Check this out. So they've done left arm, right arm. That's apparently the shoulder, so you've got to treat it like it's the shoulder. It is the arm, but anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. So so yeah, so I'm gonna go left arm. Start with the left arm first. Yep, I'm gonna move that up a few units. I think the reason is because I wanted to make sure that it all works properly. I moved it I'll move it 1 unit down, why not? This glitched out again. Okay, there we go. So this is what I'm doing essentially. I'm making the individual joints, those little dots and stuff. I did feet before, I know, but I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. There's a reason why I'm not touching that right now, and I'll get into that soon. So, alright, so that's left arm. I'm gonna do the elbow, so left elbow. Move it across. Oh my god. Why doesn't it give icons by default? God damn it. Alright, here we go. If I go left elbow, I've got to put in the left hand now. I believe left hand was something that they had. Is that left hand? Left hand. No left hand. What did I do wrong? Oh, it's just elbow. Okay, I did left hand in mine, which makes sense. So what I've done and where I got confused was I made a left hand there. It's like an individual joint. Where is it? Inside of there. I made a right hand, left hand. So like I said, I'm gonna get into this in a second. There's a bit of issues the way that I did it originally, but I'm gonna perfect it. So I'll show you what to do. All right. So it should be left elbow, not just left elbow, no hand. I should get rid of that. There we go. Now, I'm going to duplicate it and put it across. However, it's inverted, so I'm just going to put the elbow there first and then move the... sorry, I'm going to put the arm there and then move the elbow the other way. Okay. So, it should be... what am I doing? Right arm. There we go. And then right elbow. Perfect. Okay. So, now we just need a head and that's it. So I'm going to make a head. Right. It doesn't matter which order this is. It means absolutely nothing. The only time I've realized the hierarchy makes a difference is when you're using the canvas. So when you use the canvas, you have to make sure that, or Unity's canvas, Unity's UI, you just have to make sure that the order is correct. Otherwise, that's the draw order. When you're doing 2D objects, however, like sprites and stuff, there's order in layer, which is inside of the sprite. And that's the only way that you can do depth. So anyway, moving on. Okay, so here we go. Middle spine, all that. Everything's ready. Now, here comes the really tedious part. And I really hate this. But anyway, we have to go to Game Object, 3D Object, Ragdoll. We have to click and drag everything inside of this. So, yeah, we're going to have to do it tediously. I'm going to start with the middle spine. I'm going to do the head. Right elbow. Oh my god. Right elbow. Right arm. Left elbow. Oh, I'm just going to drag it across here, make it easier. So, yeah. Left elbow, left arm, right foot, which I don't have. Okay, I'm going to have to do that. Oh, wait, no, I do have that. Never mind. I just did it the wrong order. That's why it got confusing. Right foot, right knee, right hips, left foot, left knee, left hips, and the pelvis. Now watch this. If I put the pelvis in, now it lets me create. So what this does, once you get to this point, is it's going to mean that you can auto-generate all of the spheres and stuff. So let me show you. Okay, so there you are. The ragdoll is ready. Wow, it's a fat boy. Okay, we're going to have to fix this. All right, so first of all, it should work as a ragdoll. If you hit play and stuff, straight away it should have its constraints configured and everything. Yep, looks pretty good. However, needs a bit of work, which is the visuals. The visuals don't look, well, they're non-existent, so I'm going to work on that. Okay, now those collisions are the ones that are the issue, but we can fix that later. Okay, let's continue by adding the sphere. So I'm going to add a sphere to the head. I'm going to just do it separately. You might be thinking, hang on, why didn't you just start by making them a sphere first? Like, sorry, making them a, why didn't you start just making them a object first, like an actual visual object? Now, the reason is because I like to do my visuals separate to my functionality, because that way you can just swap and change models and stuff. Now, some would argue that, hey, you can just do that anyway with the other one. Trust me, having the mindset of wanting to switch between different modes, whether it be art-related visuals or be gameplay, it's better to have it separate, because then that way designers won't get mixed up with what you're doing. Okay, let's see. Middle spine is going to have a torso, so I'm going to create a cube. Oh, not a cube. Why did I do a cube tool? I'm going to do a capsule. Just put it at the top so I know which one it is. Torso. Okay, there we go. So that's the torso. Unfortunately, the middle. This is the only problem here. The box collider. I might actually change that. I can get rid of it, to be honest. I don't really need it. Same with the other one. Where's the other one? Why is there two? Should be here somewhere. I'm just going to type in box collider. Oh, it's on the pelvis. Oh, great. That's awesome. Alright, get rid of it. Sweet. Okay, go back to this. Let's see what we can do. We want to add something else. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me see. I want to add the legs. So left hips, right hips. Okay, so we're going to start with the leg. So I'm going to create a capsule called leg. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to set it to 0.5 on all axes and move it down about a unit. Oh my gosh, I hate this. When this happens, it is the most annoying. Alright, the snapping is something that I'm really annoyed with. Okay, so the way that you fix this, now control, the way control works, which is really annoying, is the fact that when you are moving an object, you see how it's 0.391? If I hold control, it's going to snap to that sort of, it's going to snap one unit from that index, or that world unit, which means that I want it to be half a unit, so I'm going to go 0.5, and now I can snap it in between these joints, and it should look a little bit better. Now, unfortunately, my one looked a bit different. I think the reason is because, what have I done? Okay, so the reason mine looked a bit different is because I think I did half a unit for the legs, which I can just fix easily by doing that same system. So you see the hips should be, instead of -1, should be -0.5. And for the other one, it should be just 0.5, so that way it looks a little bit better. There we go, so it looks very similar to how it had it originally. Okay, let us go through, and there's the leg, the knee now. So the knee is going to be, okay, so I'm going to try and see if I can make this the, what did I call it? Just want to make sure I'm trying to do this the right way. Okay, so I just call it knee because I thought, like, why not just keep it consistent? Also, it's good to be neat for so many reasons. I will explain that at some point. Don't worry. On the Y, 0.5, and then just drag it down. There we go. Cool, so sort of good to go. I'm getting there. Okay. Now, we've got the knee, we've got the left foot now. So the left foot, I was going to create a sphere and make that 0.5 as well. Okay, so how did I do this one? This one was tricky. Did I snap it down there? I did actually. I made it its position. Oh wow. Okay, I did it by hand apparently. So -0.25. Alright, -0.25. Now I'm going to call that foot. So I'm being consistent for the reason that I want to be able to just like set the right materials and everything on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to see if I can put this here. Oh, you know what? Forget it. Why don't I just duplicate the leg, put it here, move it over, done. That way we're simply finishing it easier. Just keep it structured nicely. There's the knee. Okay. I'll put this over there. And that way I can just... Oh wait, no, what am I doing? Brain fart. Okay. It's important to move it in the hierarchy, otherwise you're going to run into issues galore. Okay, let's see what we got. Left arm is going to have a capsule, and I'm going to rotate it. Oh, on the Z. There we go. And then 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, same as before. Move it to 0.5, and then snap it across. Why not? Duplicate that, move it across, put it in elbow. So now I've got an elbow and I've got an arm. Call it elbow. I'll put hands in after. He doesn't need it, this guy. Whoops. Arm. Now, I'm going to duplicate the arm, do the same thing I did before for the right arm. Just move it across. Once you have a system in place, it's fairly easy to follow along and just do the tedious crap. There we go. Alright, now the other issue was what I did with the arms was that I moved the right arm to that location. So what I've done is I've put the pivot. I should switch to pivot. There you go. I put it there, which is 0.75, 0.5. So let's do that. So 0.75. Oh, other way around. 0.75. 0.5, 0.75. There you go. And then same for the other one. So I forgot it's -0.5, -0.5, and then Now the head, as for the head, to make sure the head is in place. And also, I've noticed that that's a bit of an issue. Okay. I can fix that. So I'll set it to 1. Oh wait, that's about right. But the, there we go. So the object itself, which is the spherical ladder, the center wasn't centered for some reason. I don't know why Unity didn't do that. It should be 0.5. Oh no, 1.5. There you go. Is that right? That can't be right. What did I set it to? I set it to 1.75. Wow. Being all specific, am I? Okay. And there we are. We have our nifty little ragdoll. Now, if you hit play, should be able to see it react really well. Awesome. We did it. Now, I want to show you how to do this next part, to do with moving the object, doing the inverse kinematic stuff. It's actually fairly easy. The way I did it was literally, it's not really inverse kinematics. I'm kind of faking it by doing spring joints, and I'm just getting it to follow a spring joint, so it ends up looking kind of good. If you don't want to use a spring joint, you can use other kinds of joints. It doesn't have to be the same. But yeah, we can give it a go. Okay, let's see. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Okay. All right. Now, I want to assign materials just to make it neat. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually just go to create a few folders. First one's materials. Next one's prefabs, because I'm probably going to make this a prefab so I don't lose it. And then I'm also going to make probably not going to make that many scripts in this. I don't really need to make too many scripts. And if I do in the future, I'm going to share you guys the link to my Visual Studio Live share, so you can see me type as I go, and you can see the syntax flow as we go. Okay, let me see, what have we got? Okay, so I need to assign materials, and I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to make a material called arm, I'm going to make one called leg, elbow, oh crap, elbow, I'm going to make one called torso, head, and I think that's it. Hand? No, I didn't do hand. Did I? Let's double check. Did elbow, foot. That's what I wanted. Yeah, so I think that's everything. You know, if I forgot, I am so sorry. But anyway, let's just do it. So, I'm just gonna give it a color of something. I don't know. I'm just gonna assign random colors. I really don't care. This is just so that I can see what the individual parts are as I'm scripting, and then later you can do all this fancy schmancy, you know, visuals and stuff. Doesn't really matter. All right. Cool. There we go. So I've got purple and then torso. I'll just give it something else. I think, I'm just curious, if I do this, if I put the color picker there and I click it again, I should have just done that. I had the color picker here, and I was like, you know, what if I just click it and then, you know, it should work out really well. What have we got now? Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go arm. I can just search for it now, and I can give it the arm material. Then I've got the elbow. Give the elbow material. Foot. Give it the foot material. Gosh, so tedious. So tedious. I didn't even click it either. Oh gosh, I pressed the wrong one as well. I didn't even call it I call it a sphere. Wow, talk about consistency. I'm such a hypocrite. All right, here we go. Torso. Okay, so I've got the torso, I've got the leg. Oh, why am I doing that? I told you guys specifically I can just do this. Okay. Now, what was that one? Was that knee? Yeah, I didn't make a knee, that's right. Okay, you probably noticed that. I'm sorry, I'm a human, I make mistakes, it happens. Okay, here we go. Did I set the same material? Oh no, I didn't. Wow, I did the same color. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. It's looking like a rainbow thing. Alright, so it'll do, Nice. There you go. So that is very simple ragdoll. That's how you make it from scratch, okay? The other thing that you might want to do is you might want to create empty game objects, which we're going to do right now, and we're going to get the player to follow. I'm going to call them influences. They're probably not. This is actually called IK, to be honest, so I might just call it IK then. I don't know why I'm doing backwards stuff. Okay, so IK, what this is just an empty game object as a container. It's going to hold a few things. The first thing it's going to hold is it's going to hold my individual points that I want it to follow. So I'm going to call this not right hand, right elbow, because I only have the right elbow at the moment. So I'm going to give it a different icon. I'll give it this icon so I know where it is. Okay, and then I'm going to move it inwards there so I can just see what it looks like. Okay, so what I want to do is I eventually just want to draw I want to do a spring joint from there to there, just so I can show you what it does. It's going to like pull the arm back, and then it's going to try and, like, as the player's falling, it's going to kind of dangle, which should be really cool. So let's give it a go. I'm going to add a spring joint to this. Okay, there you go, spring joint. Now, this thing is a bastard to configure, and I'll show you why. So the reason is because you've got to set up the springs. There's a break force. Now, what break force does, I know I'm jumping around the place, but that's only because the ones that you need to know are those two at the moment. The other two, we're not really going to delve into. It's just break force is important because I made a mistake by trying to change it to something really low, and what happened was the break force ended up breaking the spring joint. So what it actually means, it means that the amount of force that you're applying to each object, if you're connecting it to something else like a spring, if you like apply a certain amount of force to that, it's gonna snap. It's gonna snap the joint. So that's what break force means. Spring, that's the tension. So that, like, how much tension is built up between 2 points. We're going to use this a bit so we can pull it higher and lower and stuff. I'll just show you what it looks like when we do it. Okay, so you've got connected body. Now, the first thing you want to do when you add a spring joint, unfortunately, this is what happens when you add a spring joint by default, which I think is just it's just a design choice at this point. Rigid bodies get attached to this object, and what happens is they're not kinematic. We need to set this to kinematic because we don't want this object to move. So kinematic just means that no external physical entities can react to this rigid body, which is what we want. We want it to just stay put. It needs to have a rigid body so that it can be subscribed to the physics engine, but that's another thing entirely. Okay, so what we want to attach it to is the left arm, the left elbow. So you can attach objects that have a rigid body on this. This is how it works. So I'm going to click and drag the right elbow. Oh, sorry, the left. Why did I call it right? Oh, sorry guys, I meant left. I'm in a haze today. I had a big teaching day. Okay, there we go. So, awesome. We've got left elbow. It's attached to the left elbow. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. There we go. If I hit play, I want to see what that does. Nothing, because I think this is why. Auto anchor is the problem, as well as spring. Yeah, so it is connected, it is working, but to the naked eye, you just can't see it's working. So let me explain what's happening. So the issue is that auto configure connected anchor, it's a long name for a variable, but anyway, we want to set that to off, because what that does, I'll show you what that does actually, they visualize it for you. That anchor that you make is actually auto-generated there. That's that little dot that shows up. I don't want that dot to follow the object because that's what the auto configure is doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable it, and then I'm going to set all the connected anchor points, this part, because you should see a dot somewhere. Is it showing up in the editor? I actually haven't checked that before. Oh yeah, there it is. It is showing up. It's just my icon is covering it, funnily enough. Yeah, look, the icon covers it. That's weird. I don't know why it covers it. That's so stupid. But anyway, so 0, 0, 0. Whoops. 0, 0, 0. So it's basically going to be right on point, and I think I can just turn off the icon so you can see it. Yeah, there it is. See that little dot right there? That's the actual connected anchor. Okay, cool. I'm just going to give an icon anyway because I want to see it. And I'm also going to increase the tension to like 200. It's a random number, but it should just work based on the tension and stuff. Oh, nice. So yeah, it's hanging by the elbow now. The really cool thing is you can move this around and it'll like move the ragdoll around. You can like wave them around. You can throw them. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so that's the whole idea of using joints and stuff. Now, what's really cool about this is that the reason why I'm showing you this is because I had had a student ask me, how the hell would you do this? Because there's no tutorials on it. So I thought, I'll just make a live stream and I'll show you guys how to do it. But yeah, that's basically it. That's all you need to do. There's not too much involved, actually. It's pretty easy. Yeah, and the other thing that we're going to do as well is I want to create the hand so I can show you how to actually get that working. Because at the moment it's just the elbow, and you might be thinking, how do I just get like a hand on there so that I can get it to like go by the hand instead of the elbow? The way I did it, I kind of you can add on to the Unity Ragdoll stuff. You can actually add on to it. The way I did it was by where are we? Okay, so you see where it says. I'm gonna go in this view actually. There we go. Okay, so you see how we've got the left. Oh my gosh. Okay, you see how we've got the left elbow. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add another empty game object just here, inside of left elbow. I'm gonna call it left hand. Okay, so the easy way to do this is I'm going to just give it any icon. I don't care. Okay, so left hand. The way that you connect it, because unfortunately it connects, but it doesn't. You still need it to be having a rigid body, and in order to get it to have a rigid body, you need to add a joint, a character joint. So a character joint is what all these objects were generated with, and that's how they're connected to each other. So left arm is connected to the middle spine, left elbow is connected to the left arm, and now I want to do left elbow connected to the left hand. And I think the physics stuff is applied properly. Yeah, just the mass is not applied, but it doesn't matter. I could just do 1.25. It doesn't matter. It's the same crap. Alrighty then. Now, that's the arm, which means that's the left hand, which means that if I assign that instead to this object and hit play, there we go. It's following. The hand is the one that's following, which looks a lot better actually. It looks a lot cleaner, nicer. Refreshing. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing for the other ones. Oh, what am I doing? Right hand. Oh wow, no, I wasn't even thinking there. I don't know what the hell I did wrong there. Okay, I'm going to move it across. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to attach a character joint. There we go. Just having a bit of an aneurysm. 1.25. There we go. So that's set up. The feet. Now the feet. This is a really annoying thing because that's actually the ankle. So I can rename this. Angle. Ankle. Okay, there we go. And left hips. Oh, whoops, what am I doing? The foot can be called left ankle. Call that the ankle, which, yeah, that could work. Call that it's actually heel, but anyway, I don't care. It'll work. Okay, so then I'm going to add a foot, which is just right foot. Move it down. Now, because I changed the name of the negative. No, that's wrong. Negative 0.5. Negative 0.5. There we go. Because I changed the name of the ankle, of the foot, sorry, to ankle, I'm gonna have to re-reference the correct thing. Okay, so I'm gonna change the name of this. So instead of foot, it's gonna be ankle. Ankle. Now there's not gonna be a model actually for the foot. I just wanted to make it like this. Character joint. I'm gonna put the ankle in there. Whoops. Why didn't that work? Oh, that's right, because the foot isn't connected for some weird reason. Okay, well then if that's the case, I can actually attach it to the knee. It doesn't matter. Just for now, it should be able to work. And then I can just do the same thing for this. I can go left foot. Joint. Click and drag the knee into there. Perfect. But the left foot, that's the problem. We're going to move it. Oops, negative 0.5. Oh, what? There we go. Okie dokie. So that's the logic. The logic is we've got a foot, we've got hands, and now we can do stuff with that. And also, that bothers the hell out of me. Why did I do that? Okay, so just to appeal to my OCD, I might just make them the same colors for the hands, so that way they're like that. And then down here, we'll do something close to it. We'll do it yellow. Yellow's close enough. Okay. Okay, there we go. So if I hit play, yeah, boy, that's awesome. Okay, so I want to see if I can. I want to see if I can like add some. Oh, I've got to change the name of this to left hand. All right. So as for scripts are going to be really easy. I didn't want to do too much in terms of scripts. But what I was gonna do actually. Okay, let me see. What did I do? Okay, so I was gonna make a okay. I was gonna do this. I don't really need to make any scripts. The only thing I want to show you how to enable and disable the Ragdoll properly. So if you want to enable and disable the script, well, the Ragdoll script properly, the way that you would do it, unfortunately, this is just how it is. They don't make it like one solid object. So what you have to do is you have to make every single one of these rigid bodies kinematic. At least that's what I know. If someone else has an idea on how to do this, please let me know, because I'm always open to new ways of doing this. I don't know the best ways. I'm always just trying to like learn as best as I can with Unity. But anyway, so yeah, like there's the rigid bodies there. The way that you make it a kinematic is you've got to make a script that loops through all of the rigid bodies and disables their kinematics. So I'm going to do that now. It's really easy. I'm going to call it a script called Ragdoll. It's a small script, very, very small script, not too much involved. And when I say small script, all it's doing is it's going to have an array of all of the different types of ragdolls, rigid bodies. That's it. I'm going to call it rigids. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go rigids. Whoops, rigids equals get component. Oh, get component in children. Oh gosh, why did I do that all of a sudden? Ugh. Sorry guys, I have to do this. No, that's great. Thank you Microsoft for getting me to sign into literally everything with my Microsoft account. Okay, there we go. So get components in children. So get components in children, basically what that does is it gets all of the components, including the parent, which is, it's good for some things, not good for other things. But anyway, there's always ways around certain things. Oh, whoa, forgot, I need a public variable. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is this script is going to be attached to the Ragdoll, and I'm going to get that bool and make it so I can change it every now and then. So I'm going to go, there's its kinematic. I'm going to see if I can loop through each, for each var rigid in rigids. So for each rigid in rigids, I'm going to set the isKinematic to isKinematic, which is, now the difference here is that isKinematic is actually referring to the one I created right here. And this isKinematic is referring to each rigid body that I've grabbed from the start of the game. Because when you start the game, it's going to get all the components in the children of the object I attach the script to. And yeah, that's it. So that's all I have to write. So if I go back to my game, I'm going to add that script to the middle spine. So the parent. Okay, there we are. And if I hit play, I want to show you what this does. It's a really nifty little script. So if I tick the box, there we go, everything gets paused. Now what this is good for being able to rotate things now that, or rotate, move things, whatever. It's good for if you're doing animations. So if you are doing animations with your character, then what you can do is, now the thing is when you do animations, unfortunately, if it's not kinematic, it won't move. Because when you're doing ragdolls and when you're doing ragdolls and then you do animations on top of that, I think animations take precedence over over ragdolls, like physics. The way that you can deal with this is by making it kinematic, because when it's kinematic, it means it can move around the place. Another thing is that when you are animating this character to do stuff, you can actually, when you are animating the character to do, like, walk cycles and whatnot, you can actually get the character to follow like individual joints through the animator instead of you having to do this system with a spring joint. The only reason why it works with a spring joint at the moment is because I've click and dragged the connected body to that object. But yeah, so basically in summary, what I meant to say in a simple way is that when you attach an animator to this object, the whole character, and you get it to animate, the ragdoll will take be not it actually won't it'll still try to move with a ragdoll even though it's being animated, so you have to make it kinematic is basically what I'm saying. So yeah, that's how you do it. You make it kinematic and you can do stuff with it. Yeah, so you can now move it around. That was really simple. Not very much coding involved. It's literally just tedious work, unfortunately. There are plugins online that show you how to make a ragdoll, but all it does is just generate it better than what Unity does. So there's really no point in getting it if you're gonna do something like that. There are some points in getting it. Actually, I'm not gonna take that back. There are a few reasons why you might want to get plugins like that. It could be because you've got an artist who has made a character, and the character needs to be placed like in the right way with the hinge joints and the angles and stuff, but you can really just like do it yourself. Look at this. The character joint, what it has inside of it, which is really, really cool, is you have a twist limit, you have a like swing limit, and you can actually set them yourself. There's actually an editor for this, I believe. Oh, there it is. Edit joint angular limits. It's a big button at the top that I just completely skimmed over. What this means, they've made a really nice editor for this, actually. It's not too bad. It's an editor where you can actually specify if you have to orbit around consistently for this. They made an editor where you can actually set the limits in which an object can swing around. So basically, right now you've got this object that can swing in a bunch of ways. It's a really weird object that I just got to try and do that swing. Yeah, okay, you can see it, but like it's a bad example because it's a sphere. So like it's really ridiculous. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, let me go and do this one instead. Okay, here we go. So we've got the elbow. The elbow has that amount of swing. Oh, by the way, they're doing it in 2D there. Okay, that's probably because the object needs to be that way. So if I do want to make it so that the object can swing a bit more that way, then yeah. Doing it in isometric's a lot nicer, I've just realized. It's really, really nice doing it that way. Yeah, look at that. Now I can you see how the arm can like swing a lot more? It's got a lot more mobility right there. It's less stiff. You can configure that. Unity's one they do by default. All they do literally, all that ragdoll thing does when you do ragdoll, all it does is literally just, where is it? It literally just adds these things, all the rigid bodies and whatnot, but also the hinge. Like there's like a default hinge to this, which is really funny. So yeah, you can do that with the legs too. The legs are, I think they're by default they're not really that far. Yeah, they're not that far. They only go there. So if you do want to increase it, it's up to you. And also do keep in mind that I'm doing this in one axis. If I switch axes, it's very different. See that? So in the front axis, you might want to configure this, and then when you switch over, you will have a bit more mobility. So there you go. I've given it more mobility on one leg. Oh, if you want to apply it, that's something I didn't mention. If you want to apply it, like apply that that rotation, that amount of rotation, to the other leg. A real easy way of doing it is literally just, where's the leg? Is it right knee or did I do left knee? Oh, okay, I should probably just check edit so I can see what I've changed. Alright, you see the hips? So the hips are the ones that I changed. You can literally just right click and copy the component and then go to the other one and then just paste it. But here's the problem. To make sure that when you change it, luckily for me in this context, what I just did, it was connected to the same body, but when you paste it, it's going to connect to the wrong body if you do the wrong one. So just make sure that you you change the right one. An example would be like if I copied the spine's like swing joint and stuff like that and pasted it on the head, which is what I'm going to do actually. It doesn't have a its connected body is the pelvis apparently. So if I paste the values there, can you see how it's got that? Oh, actually, hang on, what did I do here? No, that's correct. Okay, yeah, so you see how I've pasted it and the head is now connected to the pelvis? Yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to click and drag it, the middle spine back onto that, because we do know it was connected originally. So just keep that in mind, that some things, you know, even though you copy and paste, just the only thing I wanted to save was the limits. So if I hit play, it should not be broken, hopefully. Oh, please don't be broken. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Okay, here we go. If I go to left hand, yeah, you can swing it around. The one thing I really hate so much is I really hate the default skybox, so I'm going to change it. Ugh. Better nothing than skybox. Change the color to something. Ooh. Something blue might be nice. But by the way, I don't like the lighting here, and that's only because of how it generates. I usually use this little cheat where what I do is I get the default skybox, untick auto generate in lighting, generate it. What I've done is I've done baked lighting. It creates this folder right next to your scene, where I've got a thing called Ragdolls as my scene. It creates this folder that contains the lighting data and any reflection probes that are inside. So now if I delete the skybox, the objects look perfect. They maintained their same lighting, which is something I really like. So I'm going to keep it like that. Okay. There is actually a really nice asset I'm going to get, which will make this scene look a lot better. I should just get that asset. If I can connect to the asset store, I can't remember if I've switched programs here. Oh, okay, no, it should be fine. All right, I'm gonna look up Skybox. There's a free one that's really nice. I'm gonna see if I can get it. There it is. So it's made by Boxophobic, and it's entirely free. It's really nice. It lets you change the color of the background, and actually has clouds in the background, which is not too bad. It's one of my go-tos when it comes to getting a skybox that looks essentially less shit than the other one. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up now, because I hate what he's done. He's put all this demo stuff in there, so I'm just gonna get rid of all the demo stuff. It's literally just a scene. He's got meshes, which is like low poly fence. I'm not gonna use that. He's got textures. Get rid of that. He's got PDF showing how to use it. I already know how to use it. I'm gonna call this folder Boxophobic, so that way it's not in a subfolder. Visual Studio always opens up when you do stuff like that. Okay, here we go. So if I just go to, what is it? I'm going to call it plugins. I'm going to click and drag the subfolder in there, so that way I can delete this folder. Oh my gosh, stop doing that, Visual Studio. Okay, there we go. So Boxophobic, there's that. Beautiful. So how you use this Boxophobic is it's a new material it adds. You can click and drag the material, or you can just find it. It's the most visually appealing one that's there. Maybe if you generate lighting, it should show up. What happened? What did I do wrong? Have I got the search feature on at the moment? No, I don't. Why is it doing that? Anyway, so yeah, the cube map extended. Oops. Okay, so the reason why it's grey is because of something I've set. What have I set? Did I break the skybox? Okay, you know what? I'm going to just reset the lighting. Yeah, and then put the right skybox in there. Oh, what? Oh, I must have deleted something I shouldn't have. What did I delete? Oh, no. I know exactly what I deleted. Okay, you know what? Lucky for me, it's only in recycle bin. The thing I deleted was the textures. I want that back, because if I remove textures, then unfortunately it breaks the plugin. There we go. Perfect. So I deleted the textures. I shouldn't have deleted that. Okay. So yeah, it looks really cool. Except, oh, textures is there now. Okay, I'm gonna put it back. Nice. And delete prefabs. I got the folders mixed up. I've done this before, and by habit, I just deleted the things I thought I should have deleted. But anyway, all right, there you go. So you've got the skybox. Now, if you want to change the way it looks, I believe you've got to go to the material itself. in the inspector. Where's the material? There it is. And you have all these settings. You can set up however you want. I will change. I don't like that middle bit, and I can't remember how to change it. You can change it. I just can't remember. Is it fog smoothness? Yeah, it was fog. Okay, if you want to get rid of fog entirely and just make it a big blue scene, cool. But the problem is now that it's so bright down here that it looks really weird. Okay, hold on. Might be exposure. Looks like it was exposure. Yeah, it was. Okay, there you go. That looks really nice. I'm actually really happy with that. Okay. By the way, I don't mind having to do auto-generate for this material because it is going to treat it real time. But yeah, anyway. Cool. So that looks really good. If I hit play, we have our Ragdoll. Ooh. Okay, cool. That's Ragdolls, guys. That's practically it. There's not really much to it. If you want to follow along with me in future, I'm going to be doing a lot more, programming stuff. I guess again, this is my first time doing this, so it's very new to me. So if there's any feedback you guys can give me, anything that I'm doing, I want to perfect it. I also want to reach out to anyone who wants me to cover certain things. So if there's anything that you want me to cover, just let me know, and I'll try my best to cover that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, all of you guys, and hopefully I'll see you soon if it gets better. I'll see you guys later. Okay. Where are we? Goodbye.